But let's welcome Larry anyway. Let's try it again. Very. There you go. Okay, we got it down pat. And why are you coming up here?
There's always, you talk about it. Okay.
I got one from Bobby as well.
There's always an opportunity in every market.
That's right.
Out of the way,
You're talking about scams, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you very much and good morning. I'm always glad to be here because you guys, I tell you the truth, I learned as much from you. Probably more from you than you learned from me. But I've been here before. I've talked about the role of the assessor's office and what we're doing. But right now, everybody, I do a lot of public speaking anyway, but recently it's a lot more. So let's talk about Prop 8s and the system we use and those kind of things. And then I'll always leave enough time, hopefully, for questions. Let me set the environment, okay, because this is what I see. I'm not going to be very positive. It's those folks that want to hear good things. You probably won't hear from me today. You know, the stock market is tanking. Unemployment is skyrocketing. Housing prices are down, as you know. I don't need to tell you that. 401ks are now 201ks. Banks are failing. Foreclosures are up, and we're bailing out not only companies now, but we're bailing out industries. So that's kind of the environment. So what's going on in the assessor's office, what's going on in the county? I try to keep as close touch with what's going on in the field, the trends that are going on, both commercial and industrial, retail and residential. But the media calls me a lot and says, what's going on? I say, call the brokers that are making the deals, because you know, it comes to me, sometimes I'm the last one to know. And a deal that isn't made can tell you as much about the market as one that is, and I only see the ones that are, and it's usually a few weeks or months later. But let me give you the process. Last year, lien date, January 1st, 2008. Roll close, July 1st, 2008. We proactively reduced the assessed value without being asked by the property owner on a little less than 42,000 properties. 99% of those were residential. The average reduction, and that's difficult to do, but the average is about $75,000 per residential property.
Wow.
There were 535 commercial and industrial properties, so the bulk of the downturn in 2008 was in the residential area. But those 535 commercial and industrial properties, which will become very meaningful this year, not as much last year, was about $3.2 million per commercial and industrial property on a Prop 8 reduction. Because each. Okay. Those took about $2 billion off the assessment roll. The 42,000 took $5 billion off the assessment roll. Okay. Then we got 8,000 requests for reductions on top of that. They were either people that we had missed or people who thought the reduction wasn't enough. And of those 8,000 we got, we reduced the assessed value on 4,000 of those. So we have in the Prop 8 pool, if you will, in my office, lien date January 1st, 2008, close date July 1st, 2008, about 45,000 properties representing about $5.5 billion of assessed value taken off the assessment roll. You all know that's a temporary reduction. We have to review those things annually, and when the market turns around, and we expect it will, we will restore those assessed values, not subject to the 2% cap, until you get back up to what we call the factored base year value, which is the purchase price increased by no more than 2% a year, and then all the protections again of Proposition 13 kick back in. So if it turns around like it did almost on the dime in 1996, and if you remember that, we were restoring assessed values on properties that we previously reduced the assessed value on during the sustained downturn between 1990 and about 1995. We were restoring those things at 10 and 12%, particularly in the high-end areas like around here, until it got back up, as I said, to the factored base year value. Well, because the market has continued to deteriorate, both commercial and industrial now, as well as residential. See, in 2007, which is prior to the lien date of January 1st, 2008, the commercial industrial market was pretty strong. Class A office was hot, rents were up, vacancies were down, retail was strong at that time. So the commercial industrial market wasn't impacted near as much as it will be this year. they always lag. The residential market is, is much more timely in terms of increases and reductions than the commercial and industrial area. At any rate, we have to assume, unless there's been a change of ownership, that those 45,000 properties that were in the Prop 8 status last year will be again in the Prop 8 status, and most likely additional reductions. Okay, and then you have to add to that. How do we do this? I mean, I guess that's the question. How do you guys, we obviously don't do 45,000 appraisals in my office, okay? I look at these things geographically because as most of you, as all of you know, I'm sure, different parts of the county respond differently in these kinds of markets. Up until recently, the high-end areas, Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, Cupertino, South Sunnyvale, Saratoga, Los Gatos, held up reasonably well in the residential area. The bloodbaths are in Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Milpitas, East San Jose, Central San Jose. The growth areas of the county and heavily oriented to townhomes and condos. So that's kind of what's happening. So my predecessor before was when he reduced them or brought them back, he did them the same way across the county. Well, because the markets are much different in different geographic areas, I looked at it and said, there's 11 high school districts, and I believe that people really, and there's something that people understand about the quality of school districts as it relates to the value of their residential property. So we analyzed these things by school district. We looked at last year, we looked at every transaction that occurred for the previous 3 years. We went back to 2005. And we looked at and there's a computer program that we have, but we looked at those transactions, looked at the timing of those transactions, looked at how they related to the value of the properties then, and that's how we arrived at the bulk of the 45,000 that we reduced. Custom homes we have to do appraisals on. Commercial and industrial we have to do appraisals on. But tract homes and that kind of thing are pretty easy when you determine the sales value or the purchase value per square foot. This year we will be going back in some cases to the year 2000. But when we go back to 2000, we'll primarily be reviewing those properties that were transacted in 2000, 2001, 2003 probably, in those the areas most likely hit. Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Milpitas, as I said. Probably won't go back to 2000 in this area. Probably will go back to 2003. That's what we're doing right now, because we can't do anything until the lien date, January 1st. And by March, I will have the data and make a personal decision as to how much we will bring those properties down that warrant a reduction in each of the 11 high school districts throughout the county. So that's kind of the process that we use. We obviously missed some. And this year, we're one of only 10 counties out of 58 in the state that send those assessment notification cards out to all 461,000 property owners. And if you look at the card, it says if you think the market value of a property is less than the number on the card, the assessed value that will be on July 1st, call us, write us, fax us, email us, come into the office, and we'll do a review. That's the 8,000 that we got and the 4,000 that received a reduction. One of the biggest problems we have, and we explain it over and over again, is the market value has to drop below the assessed value. And people don't understand that. They got a $200,000 assessment, the house goes up to $800,000, it drops to $600,000, they read in the newspaper the 20% drop in value, and they call us up and say, when are you going to reduce my value? The other issue is it's the lien date. This January 1st of every year, unless there's a change of ownership or new construction that drives the change of ownership. So people were calling us up in August and September saying the value of my property's dropped, and we have to tell them, always protect your appeal right, but you have to tell them that the valuation date every year is January 1st. There was no question that the value of their properties in many cases had dropped dramatically between January 1st 2008 and September of 2008. Nothing we can do about that. But always protect your property values. Your appeal rights. The appeal time frame, as most of you know, starts the day after we close the assessment roll.